are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That is Evo. We are back. It is Saturday, and it is fucking Super Wild Card Weekend.
It's a Super Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, we love this name. We've made fun of it for, the 3 years that they've been calling it this dumb shit. But it is Super Wild Card Weekend. I'm fucking pumped. I'm 3.5 hours from being balls deep in Browns football, and I'm so excited. My team doesn't make the playoffs very often. But Jesus Christ, every time we do, it is special. I am so pumped, and I'm pumped to be here with my man, Evo. So obviously, your Vikings did not make it into the playoffs, but I know that's not exactly, you wanted that to be the outcome. Brother, how you doing? How's the weekend going? And are you ready for Super Wild Card Weekend?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm ready for playoff football. Congratulations to your Browns for making it. I'm waiting to see the posts from either you or producer Amber of your Super Bowl champion tattoos. Let's get it done. Let's find a way to make this happen. Anyone watching the show that wants to help donate and contribute to that would be fucking awesome. Let's go for it.
I will straight up, if the Browns win the Super Bowl.
No.
Come on, no. Doing it now.
I mean, you have to do it like now before the game. Like, get done with the show, quick run, or have some sketchy tattoo artists come with a burnt paper clip and some ink or something like that and get it done. Because depending on what happens today, the playoff run may or may not be done. Not putting any bad juju on you or whatever. I'm just saying, we don't know at this point. But, if they win this week, at least next week before the show, we got to see some ink.
I'll get it tattooed right on my ass. Fuck, Browns Super Bowl champs.
Perfect.
2024.
Perfect. I mean, if that doesn't bring eyes to the show, I don't know what will. But, yeah.
Additional content will be on the OnlyFans right afterward.
Absolutely. That'll be where it's not just the butt cheek, it's the spread where you get to see Brownie the elf sitting there on your taint. And we're starting off the show right. So yeah, man, dude, I'm pumped. It's a good weekend. I've been doing more working out and stuff like that. Did a little gym this morning, ready to go for the day, ready to go for the show. We got an exciting one today because it is the start of the playoffs. We're going to go over our bracket challenge that, the window for that is closing here very rapidly. I'm going to go over that, going to go over the playoffs, and then we're going to go over a little bit more of off-season football, which is more sort of my brand right now because, my Vikings are not in the playoffs. Though, there's still a lot of implications going on in the playoffs this week, next week, and thereon that are going to have major and massive effects on the NFL offseason. And it has been a whirlwind week, to say the least, of stuff.
The amount of coaches
the
that have gone by the wayside and the names that have been the ones to go, it's been wild. We're going to actually debut a segment today. I don't think we've ever actually done like a segment before.
I don't know.
But we're going to debut one today. I'm very, very excited for that. It's going to revolve all around the coach talk. But that's going to be after we break down the games. So, brother, are we ready to hop into the show, actually get this thing going, give the people the bracket again, and then we'll absolutely kind of rip through this thing?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and pull this bad boy up. It is the Super Bowl bracket, playoff bracket for the Lineman Lounge, the official one. And if you have not seen this yet, why aren't you paying attention? Why don't you love us? Like, why aren't you paying attention to our social media? Like, we've put this out on the Facebook and Twitter. It's out there with the rules and stipulations. You got to fill this out before the start of our first game today in order to potentially win yourself a custom jersey of your choice. And what are the other rules, Mike? What am I missing here? I know there's a points breakdown based on wins and things like that.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Round 1, 1 point. Round 2, worth 2 points. Round 3, 3 points. And then Super Bowl is going to be worth 5 points. Will be a tiebreaker on the score. So we'll rack points up all the way through. If you get the Super Bowl winner correct, you'll get 5 points there. If for some reason you and another person tie, we're going to use the points as that tiebreaker. If for some reason there are two people that have the exact right, they do the exact same thing, we'll figure out how to come up with a tiebreaker. or we'll see if I can just become generous because I don't want to work that hard to figure out another tiebreaker.
Look, if two people like basically pick the Super Bowl correct and then also pick the score correct on the same show, like we're national media worthy basically for, I mean, we're not a Pat McAfee or anything like that or First Take at this point. So, we don't have the numbers are against us for that to happen. So if it happens, kudos to you, the fans that watch the show that
no shit.
figure that out. Well, we're going to promote the shit out of you. So
absolutely. You get them that right. Hell yeah. We actually had a couple comments come in. Looks like Mike A. Shout out Mike. Has got $5 on that tattoo. I have no doubt that there are enough people that watch this show that would have no problem paying for me to get a random tattoo somewhere on my body. And it's not outside of me to do that. So we also got OG Banana G Squirt, Browns. And again, same guy with the thumbs up this time. Shout out OG Banana G Squirt. That's a fucking badass name, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, actually, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Squirt?
Delicious.
The drink?
The soda?
Or the drink?
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. I'm not sure my answer is going to change all that much.
We don't have to talk about that on this show.
No,
that's more of a conversation that's reserved for our other show, The Talk, which we're going to be recording another episode for you all here very shortly. That's the sort of shit that we like to talk about. That's your classic deployment experience in The Talk, being like, what do you guys think about Squirt? And then just where it devolves from there. That is exactly the sort of type of shit that we talk about on The Talk, our other channel, part of the network here that we're building. And so keep an eye out for that. We will continue to promote that to you. It is a fun time for us, and it should be a fun time for you. So if you want more debauchery like that,
hell yeah,
tune into The Talk.
Yeah, being recorded a couple days, should be out no later than Wednesday of this next week. So
excellent.
All right. Brother, before we start, diving into games, we got to talk about how the season went. And honestly, I don't think we have anything to worry about. We fucking killed it. You a little bit more so than myself, but the numbers were outrageous. Last week, you know what? I bet the way I always bet. I wasn't going to change it just to try to get to that 60% mark. I go 10-6 instead of the 11 that I needed. But on the season, I got 59.63% of my bets correct. Evo hitting at 65.63%. So those are outrageous numbers for a full season. Now, I know we've broached the subject, and I think, honestly, that's the way we should go forward in the future to give people whatever bets, the bets. We should do strictly on the spread. We'll see how accurate we can be there. And then if anybody wants to maybe not bet the spread, go with the money line in the favor of kind of where our bets take those people.
Alrighty. Yeah, and that's something it is gonna hurt our numbers probably if we only bet the spread, but it is what it is, That's what a lot of other shows do and whatnot. We'll still be able, it's not like we're gonna be able to say like, if I were betting this game, I'd probably bet this, but we're taking this sort of spread, that sort of thing. Like we're not constrained by, what we can say on here to too much. So
no, we're
not. I can give you the full thoughts.
We literally just talked about Squirt. So, I mean, fucking
the soda.
Yes, obviously. Delicious, by the way. Grapefruit, my favorite. But good numbers on the year. Both of us up on our percentages from last year. Playoffs, you and I both struggled a little bit last year. We both went like 6-6, I want to say is what it was. So we'll see how we can break down on the playoffs this year. But hey, brother, great season. I mean, 65%, whether it's against the spread every time or with the money lines in there or not, that is a great fucking number. So I'm sure you were giving out all sorts of useful information.
Yeah, for sure.
We need y'all on TikTok. So we can probably get some shorts going. We can get some short form content for sure.
Yeah, that's probably something in general that we need to work on. I know that'll definitely drive some viewership. So it's worth looking into here. And then we have Sexy Taurus Shotguns. ¿Qué onda, putas?
I love Taurus. Hey, by the way, if you do call today, You ain't getting any shotguns. I got no beer in the house, so sorry, brother.
Yeah, and I'm being healthy. I've got agua.
Yeah, and I don't think me smoking a bowl on live YouTube is going to go over very well, so we won't do that either.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe not as well as you would expect. But all right, man. We have 6 games to talk about here in Super Wildcard Weekend. Are you ready to get kicked off into it?
Fuck yeah, I am, dude. Because we can't go out of order, really, because these games are coming fairly quickly. I'm ready to dive right into the Browns. If you're ready to go in that order, or did you want to switch it up?
Oh, no. I say we just roll through the days as they go, which things are rapidly changing already. We've already had a change to the schedule this morning based off of weather. This is what happens when you get into playoff football and you have teams that have outdoor stadiums, is that the weather plays major factors. All right. And we'll get to that here in a little bit, but it's the Steelers and Bills game that has been moved to Monday night due to the weather. All right. But we'll start off today. Browns and Texans, your first game in Houston. We are having the return of Deshaun Watson. Nope, not Deshaun Watson.
I'm sure he's going to be there because Deshaun Watson is franchise quarterback, leader of that team. Should definitely be there. I don't think he's
out some of his old baiting grounds.
I don't know if he's going to have a box like other places that he has been. I don't know if NRG is going to allow him to fucking rent out a box because he's Deshaun Watson, and the way that relationship ended was obviously very contentious.
And like the TVs are going to take a shot and look at him if he's in a box or something like that. I think that if he has an actual box there or something like that, team suite, that the baller move would be for him to be laying on a massage table watching the game, just sitting there like,
Oh man, don't do that. Don't do that, Deshaun. Not you, Evo. You go ahead and put that image out there for people to marinate with. But
I'm about the Hindenburg situation here. Just let it blow up and burn.
Yeah. Listen, that is going to be a topic of conversation. I've seen the drinking games already come out. Don't play the drinking games that are involved with the Cleveland Browns game because you're going to be shithouse if they're one fucking quarter. There's no way around it. With the amount of times they're going to reference Deshaun Watson and the going back in the playoff game and CJ Stroud comparisons to Deshaun Watson, you're going to be shithoused in fucking 15 minutes.
I'm not completely convinced this is going to happen because I like to make light of the situation. We like to make fun of the whole situation and stuff like that, even though obviously it was, detrimental to some women's lives, allegedly. But this is the first that I've thought about. Like, it didn't dawn on me that, this is Cleveland versus Houston and the Deshaun Watson thing until like 2 days ago.
Oh yeah,
that was the first I thought about it because I truly feel like the Texans, they have absolutely moved on with Stroud,
as they should.
Like not just player wise, but like mentally. Like Deshaun Watson's a figment of their past. Like they don't think about it anymore. The same thing for the Browns is like there's lots of talks of what's going to happen. Like, and this is from an outside perspective, of course. I'm sure as a Browns fan and a Cleveland native, Deshaun's still on the tip of the tongue to an extent, but. You're riding the Flacco around find out train right now.
Yeah, we're fucking balls deep in Flacco fever.
And so I feel like that coupled with the media not wanting, I'm sure the Cleveland, the Browns don't and the NFL don't want the narrative of Deshaun Watson, sexual predator, and all that to be pushed.
Especially on Super Wildcard Weekend is the worst fucking time to have that conversation come out.
And so if you talk too much about the trade, then the natural question goes to why did the trade happen? Well, because he's a pervert or a sexual deviant or whatever you want to call it. But that's what, step A leads to step B, right? And so I think that, it will be referenced, massive trade took place between these two teams, sending Deshaun Watson to the Browns. Deshaun Watson is hurt. Now you have Joe Flacco, and they just keep talking about that. 5 quarterbacks this year, Joe Flacco. And
I hope that's what the storyline is because that's what the storyline should be right now.
That's in my opinion, that's what they're going to do to kind of lull over that situation as much as possible. The difficulty is that when you were talking about playoffs, they do have a little bit of extra airtime where they're not having to talk about other stuff in the NFL as much.
Right.
and that allows them to get a little bit deeper dives into the individual teams.
That's why I worry that you gotta have some dead air, and these guys are professionals. They're gonna find a way to fill that air. We'll see what happens, but let's get off of that. That is not relevant to this fucking game. Yes, I want to stay focused on the football game.
The spread for this game, by the way, which I didn't say earlier, spread is Cleveland -2 at this point, and over of 44.5. This spread has moved a little bit here and there, I believe. Injury-wise, I believe you had one of your cornerbacks tweaking.
So Denzel Ward just came up a little gimpy at practice with a knee. No word as of right now. I will check again, but no word right now if he is out for this game or not. But signs right now kind of point to him being able to play in this game. And that's huge because Denzel Ward kind of really changes what we can do in the back end. We can sub in, different types of nickel looks. We can go a big nickel, especially with Ronnie Hickman showing up and being able to play both safety spots. Guys that can play in the slot, and a Grant Delpit, who is not going to be back in this game, which is kind of shitty. Like, I was really looking forward to getting Grant Delpit back. Hopefully we'll get him back for next week's game. But it's, we are where we are. The injuries are not as bad as they could have been by any means, because when you look at the Cleveland Browns roster, I believe there's 26% of our salary cap on the IR. I don't think that's really changed. Teams week in, week out getting hurt. We had to elevate John Kelly to the active roster because I believe that's not Kareem Hunt. Who the hell is this going to be out? I'm pulling up the update now to see who's in and out. Hopkins, Cedric Tillman, and Delpit are officially ruled out. Denzel Ward is currently questionable. You know what? So it doesn't look like running backs are... None of our running backs appear to be out right now, but we did elevate John Kelly for this playoff game. And so the running game is going to be super important, but in this game, it's going to be how can the Browns work off of that Joe Flacco passing game. I expect that early, we're probably going to see a lot of throwing early on first and second downs to loosen up that running game. We didn't run the ball necessarily great against Houston last time. We struggled to run the ball against the Jets. We've got to find a way to get that running game going, and I believe Flacco can kind of open that up. And we can even start out by taking some play action shots early in the game, because they're not on the script yet. They don't know, like, hey, okay, these guys are running 5 wide. We're going to do this. They're going to run the ball down our throats. So you can actually take advantage of play action early, especially as a team like the Browns, who are pretty well known for being a running team. So I expect to see shots early off the play action to open up the running game. And when we played this team last time, the Browns put up 36 points, 37 points. I'm gonna have to look at what the hell the score was.
The Browns, it was 36-22.
36 points.
Yeah, with this was a Joe Flacco game.
Yep.
Versus Davis Mills.
So Joe Flacco has done this before against this defense. Now, CJ Stroud did not play in that previous game. Does that change the way this game could be? 100%. But CJ Stroud doesn't play any fucking defense. Okay, I'm not worried about the fact that they're going to hold us. It's, can our defense hold up? And I think they can. Now, CJ Stroud is obviously a far better quarterback than Davis Mills. He is a far better quarterback than a lot of guys that are starting in the NFL right now. He is like getting close to the top 5 quarterback right now with the way he's performed for all the things that we have seen. I for sure have him in the top 10. He's probably just outside of my top 5 right now, but he's up there. Like, he's a fucking dude. So can they score? Yeah, sure. Nico Collins is a tough matchup for anybody. We're going to have to contain the running game and then make them very, very one-dimensional and see if we can put the clamps on. That's what Cleveland does best is the passing game. They're the best team in the league in passer rating. I believe yards allowed as well. So if we can make them one-dimensional, I like us taking on CJ Stroud and Nico Collins because their other weapons kind of fall off with the missing Tank Dell.
Yeah, so this is what I'm looking at the box score from the previous game, which obviously only tells a bit of a story, but not the true narrative. But we can still pull a couple things from this. So that last game, Flacco was 27 of 42, 368 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, but he did have 2 interceptions. And that's been one of the things is that Flacco has thrown a decent amount of interceptions while being your guys' starter this year. So that is a bit of a concern in general. But if we're looking over, I don't think that there's been like any sort of a massive defensive change like you kind of brought up with the Texans, where like your guys' offense won't be able to be as productive as they were in this game. Like you guys should be just as productive, if not maybe more potentially, if you're saying, hey, Flacco is, if the turnovers are cleaned up, but I mean, Flacco is having more time with this team. He's gelling and everything. So like there's always potential for better to happen there. The flip side, this is a Houston team that they played Davis Mills and Case Keenum that game. Neither of them did well. Devin Singletary had 9 rushes for 44 yards, which isn't a bad average. But the next closest rusher was Davis Mills with 9 yards. And Damian Pierce was not back on his train at that game. 3 rushes, 6 yards. Pretty terrible outing there. And then the biggest thing is that Houston receiving was really shut down. I mean, Nico Collins only had 4 catches for 18 yards. Yes, one of them was a touchdown, but that is relatively low for what Nico Collins has been doing. Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown both had okay days. But if we're looking at those receiving numbers, that's not the type of receiving numbers that you see from this receiving squad when you actually have CJ Stroud out there. Now Stroud, like it's a fantastic story with him this year. I am rooting for the Texans team in general, and I have been this year, because like they are shedding the old shitty skin of where the Houston Texans were going to be one of the top or bottom 3 teams in the league. Like they are have a bright future ahead of them, and that's exciting. The same way that I feel that way for the Detroit Lions, albeit they're in the same division as me, so that sucks. But it is tough for a first-time head coach and a first-time quarterback in the playoffs, let alone a rookie quarterback going into the playoffs, to perform well. The stats don't really bear out too great with that. I believe it's like 22-36 against the spread for quarterbacks in that situation. First-time NFL quarterbacks going into the playoffs. So, like, you guys have the defense, which will help carry you through this playoffs, and that offensive spark that you got from Flacco. Like, as long as Flacco doesn't fall off that cliff, that potential is always there, because we've seen it so much this year. Of quarterback comes in, plays good for a couple weeks, and then they start to sour, and it's potential. The potential is always going to be there, Otherwise, you would sign Joe Flacco to a couple-year contract and expect that he's going to be able to do this long term. That being said, like for me, the Browns are the better team here. They've got a better defense, and that defense is going to be able to help win them the game. Like they are able to get enough from their offense, especially the way that Amari Cooper has been performing. This was that Amari Cooper game where he was 11 catches, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. If they're able to split that up a little bit better between him and Njoku, that's when things are going to start getting really dangerous. Because Njoku had a good game here too, 6 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown. But if they're able to split that up, it will shake up that Texans defense enough where they're going to have a lot more difficulties containing everybody. So I'm going to stick roughly with my board that I submitted for the Lineman Lounge, giveaway.
So I did not do one, and I'm not going to do one. I'm the one giving away the jersey, so I'm not putting in a bracket. So for everybody I was going to say, like, where it is.
I'm doing this for the clout. If I win, like I don't want anything.
No, I'm not buying you a jersey. If you win, I'll give it to the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want anything. I just want the clout to be absolutely correct, which I won't be. But I am taking the Browns in this game to win. Now, if we're going against the spread,
We'll do that next season. That's where we're going to get ready to go into that transition next season. This year, we're sticking with the format that we had all year, where you can go money lines or spreads.
Right. Well, at -2, it is close enough where you would consider possibly dropping the points. But I'm just going to take the Browns to win this one, and that's probably chalk for what I'm going to do for this entire playoffs. Is I'm just going to pick the winner.
Okay. So Browns money line for you. I'm doing it, bro. I'm going Browns -2. I don't see, like, I understand that CJ Stroud comes back and makes that team way better, like way better, but it's just not a great matchup for this Texans team. We can beat them even with CJ Stroud. He's a rookie head coach. They don't typically win in games like this. And we didn't really do a whole lot of numbers for this game. I think there's really only one that I need for sure, especially as a fan of the team. Joe Flacco is undefeated in wildcard games. He's never fucking lost one. Like,
one could say that he's due.
One could say that he is due, or that he's hot. We'll just keep riding that hot hand. Browns -2, taking it.
When's the last time that he was in a wild card playoff game?
It's been a long fucking time.
It's been a long fucking time. So it's
I'm pretty sure it's been a
keep
decade.
that heater going. Yeah. That's impressive. Yeah. But all right, so we're both on the Brownies for this one. Next game later on this evening, Dolphins and Chiefs, another super interesting one because of the weather. NFL is monitoring both this game and that Steelers-Bills game, but for two separate reasons. The Steelers-Bills game is going to be cold, but they are looking at that lake effect snow and insane winds, whereas the Chiefs-Dolphins game is just historic colds. So as of right now, AccuWeather has it expected game time -4 degrees Fahrenheit. I've seen as low as -6 degrees Fahrenheit at times this week.
And that's actual temperature?
That is actual temperature before wind chill.
Yes.
Wind chill, they're talking about down to -25, -30.
Only takes about an hour to get frostbite in those conditions. I know that because I was stationed in Alaska and I had to do all that cold weather training. And yeah,
Yes.
that game's going to be fucking nasty. If you're going to that game, please bring as much cold weather shit as you can. And if you're playing in that game, good luck.
It brings up kind of a funny thing. So I listen to a lot of Sirius XM NFL radio on my drive to work and leaving work and things like that. But even more so, like as we're leading up to bigger games and stuff. Mm-hmm. So all this week's been playoff talk, and they've been tracking ticket prices for playoff games. I don't, are you aware of this stuff?
I am tracking. So, if you wanted to go to one of these games, you could get a ticket pretty fucking cheap right now.
Yeah. So earlier on in the week, like Tuesday, ticket prices in the nosebleeds for this Chiefs game at Arrowhead were about $75, which is a steal for a playoff game. But it was because that weather is going to be so bad. Last that I saw or heard, those same seats are about $40 right now because of how cold and shitty it's going to be there to watch as a fan. On the flip side, your Detroit Lions, who haven't been to a fucking playoff game in God knows how long, haven't hosted a playoff game in God knows how long, in 1993, like the nosebleeds for them are like $550.
Yep.
Which this comes into play a little bit. All right. So that stadium there in Arrowhead, I still expect to be pretty damn full. Like you're going to have a lot of faithful fans that are going to go out there, wear their ski goggles and multiple layers and stuff like that. But when you look at the flip side of like how Detroit is going to be, not only do you have a passionate fan base that is so behind their team right now, but if I'm spending that sort of money, I'm going fucking insane. I'm getting my money's worth in that stadium. The Rams, and yeah, we're not on this game yet, but the Rams might have a real tough time when they're on offense hearing diddly dick, because that will probably be the loudest that stadium has ever been.
Yeah. Well, and so the Lions is going to be very loud. I still think Arrowhead is going to be loud because I agree with you. I think the fans are still going to show up and show out as long as it's not like rainy, as long as there's no wet to go along with that cold, like you can manage the cold temperatures with enough layers and the proper protective gear.
Heaters, they're going to have all sorts of heaters on the sidelines, things like that.
So, like, that is easily doable. But we got some comments coming in from Maruda Gussolini. They're like, this is going to be a big, important game. They're playing in the fucking freezing cold elements. This could be Andy Reid's last ride. And once we get to the our new segment portion, I'm going to have something to say about that. But it is very possible that they could lose this game because they have not been able to run the ball at all. And the conditions are going to be dog shit.
Yeah, that's looking at this game initially, it's cold. That favors the Chiefs because the Dolphins are a hot weather team.
Exactly. They haven't won a game
that's the initial
under
thought.
30 degrees in like a fucking decade or some crazy number is what it was.
But then as it gets colder and as these situations get a little bit shittier, it almost starts to level the playing field a little bit because the Chiefs are not a fantastic running team. They're a team that's maybe a little bit better built because they are used to that environment. But then that starts to go away once it gets so cold. Then everyone is just kind of in the shit. And the Dolphins are a much better running team. Like, they don't have like the big bruiser guys. They got Raheem Mostert and Devin Ashane. Those aren't the big bruiser type of guys that you would want in this sort of a game. Whereas Isaiah Pacheco is a little bit more of that type of back for the Chiefs. So you could make an argument leaning a little bit more towards the Chiefs here, but like things start to really even out. The running games aside, passing wise, Dolphins are a better passing team as well. Like that Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and Tua, that combination on its own, if you want to throw in like Dylan Smythe or whatever, the tight end, you can. But the Chiefs just don't have great receiving options. But is it really going to matter that much? Maybe not. Because with temperatures like this, people don't understand that like the ball becomes essentially frozen. It feels like you are holding onto a bowling ball without the weight. So throwing that, the grip just like isn't there for the quarterback. The ability for a receiver to catch that, which there's already been a lot of catching woes out there in Kansas City.
You want to talk about fucking drop problems? Take that Kansas City team and put them in negative 30 degrees.
Yeah, that is... Catching a ball is going to be extremely difficult. I wouldn't be that surprised to have less than 15 receptions from the Chiefs in this entire game. Like, and a majority of those will be Travis Kelce or maybe little dump offs to a running back. But like the passing game, it gets abandoned pretty quick in these sorts of conditions, specifically the cold.
Yeah, and the wind is also supposed to be picking up to make that wind chill drop to that level. I believe they're talking about almost, 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, so, not the 50 that they were looking at out in Buffalo.
Yeah, but it's still, that is also going to play a factor. We're not going to see a lot of points in this game, in my opinion. And if we do, it's probably going to come from the running game. And that favors, in my opinion, the Dolphins. Like, if you want to talk about an offensive line versus defensive line, the Dolphins defensive line is way more physical and dominant than that fucking Chiefs offensive line, with the exception of maybe Creed Humphrey.
I don't know, man. They've had so many injuries along that Dolphins defensive line. I'm looking at the flip side. The Chiefs defense to me is going to be way more dominant in this game. They are younger, they're healthier. The Chiefs, they have like no defensive ends anymore. No Jalen Phillips, no Bradley Chubb. They did release what's his name, who blew his hand up with the fucking firecracker, former
JPP.
Giant. Yeah, he's not there anymore. I think they did elevate Melvin Ingram, like that. Yeah, they're not in the best of shape. I fucking
forgot that they got all those dudes.
That to me,
the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've had a bad string of injuries towards the end of the year. I believe Justin Houston might have just been signed by them as well in order to try to help a little bit. I don't think it's going to necessarily be enough though. For me in this game, I do have Kansas City winning this game. But it's going to be on the back of Isaiah Pacheco. The wild card for me is that the Dolphins are a better running team, and they have a lot better options to run. Ashane, Mostert, and Tyreek Hill. People have to factor in if Tyreek Hill's not going to get past the ball, he's going to
find a way to get the ball.
There are going to be jet sweeps and things like that. That could be very explosive. But I think we're going to see a very neutered game from both these offenses. And it doesn't take much to neuter the Chiefs offense, but that Dolphins offense is going to kind of be brought to a bit of a reckoning. Like I said, the over in this game is 43.5. The line, Kansas City -5. That line to me is fishy. That is a little bit too large for my liking. But on this one, over under, I'm definitely going with the under.
Like hit the under for sure.
That if we split this right down the middle, I don't know that both teams are scoring 20 points to let alone more than that to reach that 43.5. Like 20 points, I think, is like maxing out potential for what this game can do.
Yeah, you're pushing it because especially if the wind picks up, so here's the thing. If the wind picks up, there's no passing in this game because it's going to be almost impossible with how hard the ball is going to be from the temperatures. If the wind doesn't pick up, you're still looking at a muted passing game and two teams that, listen, can be explosive, but their explosive plays more often than not come in that passing game. The only, Pacheco has the ability to maybe break one, but I like the ability on the opposite side to break one way more with the speed of Mostert, Ashane, fucking Tyreek Hill. If you get an edge, you can take one to the house, especially in crappy conditions, because you know where the fuck you're going. The defense doesn't. They're gonna be a little bit behind. That weather always factors towards, my opinion, the favor of the offensive side of the ball because you actually know where you're intended to go to begin with. With that, I'm taking the Dolphins plus the points.
Yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins plus the points as well. I do think Kansas City wins this game, though. That's where I had my board before. That's what I'm kind of sticking with. But I am going to take the Dolphins plus the points because, like I said, that line seems a little bit too fishy for me. I think they're thinking that Kansas City is the playoff team that they've been the past several years. But you have to look at the recent history, and they are not the team that they've been this entire year. So that, to me, it's like Kansas City, I don't think is long for the playoffs this year. And back to Roberto Gussolini talking about Andy Reid, there has been credible reports and questions, regardless of what happens in this game, as to the future of Andy Reid and whether or not he would consider retirement. Again, that is something that we're going to talk a little bit more about here going forward, because that's not the only game and the only head coach in this playoffs that is on the hot seat or potentially on the outside looking in, who might not be with their team next year. So, like I said, we'll get into that a little bit more in the second half of the show. So that wraps up today's games, Saturday's games, and then we jump over into Sunday. First game, Packers, Cowboys out in Arlington. The line is Dallas -7, over under of 50.5.
Oh, yeah, that was the first game. I was like, wait a minute. No, there's a 1 o'clock. Never mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
That Steelers-Bills game no longer happening. That is on Monday. And this Packers-Cowboys game is going to be real interesting. Actually, real quick here, Joe Rockstar with a comment. Wonder if the refs will be active in the cold as well when they start inward thinking about how cold they are versus paying attention. I mean, the refs have been bad all year. Yeah. Like I wouldn't put it past them having a real shitty game. Anyways, Packers Cowboys. So I think I speak for everybody that if you look at both these teams without putting like, hey, this team has this logo or this team has this logo, you just look how the stats and the season is bore out. The Cowboys are a much better team. They're much more talented on pretty much every phase of play. I don't know if there's like one positional group for the Packers that is better than the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Cowboys have tons of success at home this year. And the Packers limped their way in and fell their way into the playoffs this year And people are really starting to ride this Jordan Love train right now.
Oh yeah, dude. Everybody's fucking touting these numbers. Now listen, the back end of his season was much better than the front end. I will give him that. But
Yes.
However, go ahead, because I think we're going to say the same thing.
It was better. It wasn't great, but look at who he was playing and the situations that they were in. Panthers, Vikings, Bears, 3 teams that were not playoff bound, 3 teams that are maligned right now with injuries and stuff like that, and didn't have a shitload to play for, and had a little bit more to play for if they lost. Those are the 3 weeks that everyone is pointing towards of like, Jordan Love turned it around. Look at his passer rating. Look at the touchdown to interception ratio. It's like if you were to go out and play a game of horse against a kid with Down syndrome, you beat the fuck out of him, and then you're like, I'm better than Michael Jordan now. It's no, you're still bad. If you look back to that Vikings game, I brought this up. You look at the Vikings game, he left multiple touchdowns out there because of errant and inaccurate throws. His accuracy didn't miraculously get better. They just played worse teams. Like certain facets of their game got better, and Jordan Love matured and did get better as the season goes along, but he is still fringe starter NFL quarterback to me at best. Like we're talking about focusing on too small of a sample size of stats for this.
Yeah. He has better numbers than Brett Favre. He has better numbers than Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to be better than both. But if you actually watch him play, he misses way too many throws. He also still holds the ball for a really long fucking time. That's going to be a huge factor against a very fast, very aggressive Dallas Cowboys defense. If you hold the ball for a split second too fucking long, Bland is taking a fucking pick to the house, or Micah Parsons is getting home to sack.
I think one of the safest bets that you can have this weekend is the current one that I got on Caesars, Jordan Love, over under 0.5 interceptions. Like he's getting, I see no way that he walks out of this game without at least 1 interception.
Yeah.
Because you have Deron Bland, who is essentially Trevon Diggs. They are boomer bust type of cornerbacks, but it's because they're head hunting for those interceptions.
Yeah.
They're going after those stats. But overall, like that Cowboys secondary is solid. They've gotten a decent amount of turnovers. But this Packers offensive line is going to have a very tough time against that defensive line from the Cowboys, specifically Micah Parsons. Parsons is pissed because he didn't make all-pro team or something like that.
Yeah.
He is going to, with a chip on his shoulder, make Jordan Love his bitch probably this game. Like that's kind of where I feel like that's going. That being said, the Packers have had the Cowboys number for years now. I think it's like 15 straight games or something like that, which is ridiculous. And the Cowboys, they play better at home, but not as well against winning teams. Well, I think that this Packers record right now is kind of false. Like those last 3 wins, are they wins? Yes, but are they like resounding
quality wins?
Yes, it's not really the case. So the Cowboys should absolutely roll over the Packers in this game.
Yep. Will they? That's the question, because here's the thing. We're talking about playoff football, and we got the Cowboys in the conversation and Mike McCarthy, which means there's almost certainly a letdown of some kind coming at some point. And based on the things that we've recently seen, it happens pretty fucking early in the playoff run. So this team is so wishy-washy. There's no doubt in my mind who's going to go and represent the NFC. Joe, you know who it's going to be. The 49ers are the team to beat. It's not any question. The Cowboys, I think they will probably win this game because I don't like Jordan Love. But there is a very real possibility they are going to have an epic fucking collapse. Jerry Jones is going to do some hasty shit, and
I wouldn't even call it hasty.
Yeah, probably not. Jerry Jones is going to act like Jerry Jones does, and then he's going to fire Mike McCarthy if this game doesn't go that way. And it honestly does have that potential, but I'm not going to bet. I'm not betting that. I'm going to take the team that's better.
I of course I hate the Packers, and I want to see them lose this game.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, them being the Cowboys and watching Jerry Jones have to fire Mike McCarthy would be pretty entertaining. It would be entertaining to see that head coach firing happen. It would be sad not to have old moonface fucking chucklehead in the NFL. And I don't know how quick he's getting another job.
He won't be.
Unless he wants to go coach the Panthers.
Which nobody wants to go coach the Panthers.
But I still think that I would prefer for the Cowboys to beat the Packers because the Packers really don't deserve to be in the playoffs this year. That being said, with this NFC, kind of like you alluded to, we have to look towards like a couple weeks in the future, right? You have the 49ers more than likely, unless they really get upset, making it probably to the Super Bowl this year. That's the way that most people are projecting this. The way I'm projecting it, it sounds like you're projecting it.
Yeah.
But let's say Green Bay wins this game, they immediately, as the lowest seed, go and face off against the 49ers. And then the 49ers, once again, curb stomp them out of the playoffs. Yeah. That to me is funny and also enjoyable. I just don't, I would prefer it to happen in the
firing. That could also lead to the firing of Mike McCarthy. If they go get their asses kicked by, either way, I think Mike McCarthy has to make the NFC Championship game. He has to.
If the Cowboys win and end up playing the 49ers in the playoffs, it would be at the championship game.
Oh, yeah. That's because they're 1-2. I forgot that.
And that could extend McCarthy because he made the championship game. However, it still would be funny because San Francisco has Dallas's number and they always fuck them up as well. That's a bit more of a competitive game and a little bit more fun to watch.
San Francisco beating the shit out of the Packers is a foregone conclusion.
But I love seeing that every year. San Francisco also has the Packers number. They also rub their dick all over their faces every year, and it's fucking great. I loved it when Jimmy Garoppolo did it a couple years ago up in Lambeau. Like that really made me happy. Like I remember being like, that was kind of my Super Bowl. It felt that good. Yeah. To me, Cowboys are head and shoulders a better team here. Yeah. At every aspect. I'm taking the Cowboys to win. I'm not taking -7 because this could end up being a little bit more of a shootout. But I do think that the Cowboys win by 10.
Cowboys money line for me. I don't know or care how much because, in my opinion, they could easily lose this game because the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are playing in the playoffs. So I'm just going Cowboys money line.
2 bets for this game that I could talk to. Well, actually 3. 3 different things. Look at the reception totals for CeeDee Lamb and bet the over. Look at the kicking points totals for Brandon Aubrey, bet the over. And look at the interception over-under for Jordan Love and take the over on all of those. All right. CeeDee Lamb has been racking up shitloads of receptions. So that's a good one to go after. Brandon Aubrey has been one of the most effective field goal kickers in the NFL this year. But historically, Mike McCarthy is much more apt to kick field goals and settle for 3 points in the playoffs. Like historically, like you could have a 4th and 1 at the 1 yard line, and historically he will kick a field goal because he just wants the points.
Yep. Playoff game. You want the points, make sure you get something out of this drive because if you don't, it completely switches the momentum, and momentum is fucking crucial in a playoff game. I don't necessarily agree with that train of thought, but that is your old school fucking ball coach, Mike McCarthy style of thinking. Like you always take the points in that situation. Yeah,
it is the hyper unaggressive, and that's what Mike McCarthy does. So if they're going to get chances to kick field goals, you can expect Brandon Aubrey to get those points. I believe last I saw it was 8.5, so he needs 3 field goals, all right, or multiple extra points off of touchdowns and a couple field goals. However you want to see it, that's a decent one to me, all right. And then I already explained the Jordan Love interception take. I think that Jordan Love is going to get exposed this game, but that's also me being a little bit of a Packer hater.
That's maybe a little bit of a homer pick there.
Yeah, but I mean, one interception in this game is people are saying like he hasn't had an interception in 5 games. But again, you go back and look at who he's been playing. Like that's what it is to me. All right, next game. Rams, Lions, super interesting one out there at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Like we brought up, the fans are going to be going absolutely fucking bonkers in Detroit. Have you seen the jersey thing?
I have not seen the jersey thing.
All right, so they are having a donation center set up outside of Ford Field. If you bring a Stafford jersey in, you automatically get a Jared Goff jersey, and they have shitloads of them. They're expecting thousands of people to turn in their Stafford jerseys for Jared Goff jerseys.
Hell yeah. So I don't know who's putting that on, but good
Stafford
on them.
Stafford jerseys are not allowed in the stadium.
Oh, shit.
So that is why they are boosting their numbers to ensure that it's Detroit Lions Stafford jerseys. I don't think they could do that for the opposite team.
I don't think you can do
that.
But
Detroit Lions Stafford jerseys are not allowed in the stadium. That's why they have as many Goff jerseys as they do, because they're expecting people like, hey, free fucking jersey, let's go for it. So let's bring in our old antiquated shit. It's going to be a fun game. I mean, the storylines are fantastic here because you have, again, the maligned Lions who haven't had a home playoff game in decades having a home playoff game, and they're a good team. And the Motor City Dan Campbell and the trade between Goff and Stafford and McVay and this team, like there's a lot to unpack there. It makes for a great storyline. And you have this Rams team, which, you know, again, I will say it every week, eat crow. I thought they were going to be absolutely terrible this year, and they found themselves in the playoffs, and it's well warranted. Like their offenses got some solid pieces, and it took some really clever and good drafting, finding Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams, and having a bunch of no-name guys go out there and perform really well. They're still susceptible on the defensive side of the ball, especially I believe that they have their number one cornerback, don't know who it is, going up against the number one wide receiver on teams week in, week out, as like following them. And he's been getting torched the past couple weeks. Yeah. So it could spell big things for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But like the Lions as well, their secondary
could also easily get torched by Nacua or underneath by Kupp, who really has had a very quiet season.
Quiet but good. I mean, like they both been. It is a great 1-2 punch there, passing wise. Stafford knows Detroit. He knows how to play there. Like there'll be a sense of comfortability going back to his old home. And there's going to be a lot of aggression towards him probably. But
I don't know, man. Listen, I think Stafford is still going to always be beloved. Like
to an extent,
He did so much for that team, for that city. Like he gave his fucking heart to that team. So I don't think there's ever going to be a time where not all of their fans will ever turn their back on him. There will be some. There's always some that they're like, oh no, fuck that guy. But Stafford gave a lot to that organization. But this game is, in my opinion, a chance for Lions fans to exercise that Matthew Stafford demon. Like this game, now Stafford has been removed. Goff is playing well. The Lions are in the fucking playoffs without Stafford. Stafford got his Super Bowl, and Lions fans had to watch that. Now Lions fans and the Lions team have a chance to make good on this trade by beating Stafford, knocking them out of the playoffs, and trying to move on with Goff. That is a storyline that I think is not being played up enough. We're talking a lot about, it's the Rams are going, Stafford's going back, and they're making it about Stafford in his jerseys. This is Goff's chance to prove that I can play fucking quarterback at the same level that Matthew Stafford has. And honestly, if you look at their numbers, they're pretty fucking similar for what they've done since they've made the change. So I feel like this is a get right or a revenge game for Goff and the Lions fans more than this is like a returning of Matthew Stafford.
That is true. Big thing for me in this game is the status of Sam Laporta. He is questionable currently, but I watched that hyperextension happen last week.
He's not playing.
It's a bummer to see that. I would have to assume that if you truly think that you're going to make a long run, you could probably have him back next week, like rest them in this one. But on the other hand, it is the playoffs. There is no tomorrow if you lose.
Zach Ertz, I believe, is still available.
But he ain't getting signed and playing tomorrow. I mean,
not tomorrow, he's not. But
yeah,
if you make it through this one and Laporta is not going to be good to go at any point in this playoff run, and you can now know that, you move on, you got to go out and look for another tight end. Veteran tight end with playoff experience, won a Super Bowl. He slides right in nice and easy. He's not going to be as productive, but he will be some more production than what they have. Losing Sam Laporta is a big knock for this Lions team that I really, really like. And I can't do it, man. I've seen a lot of people, fucking everybody is on the Rams, and I am not. I think the Lions do it. They're going to fucking win a playoff game finally.
So that's the thing, is that if you look at this, at the playoff bracket, it is kind of tough to not go chalk in a lot of ways. Yeah. You could talk yourself into ways to not do that, but it is tough to not go chalk with most of these games. This is one of those ones where the Lions are gettable in certain facets, specifically their secondary. Yeah. They're without Sam Laporta, and you've got the Rams team with Stafford, who was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and that gives them a little bit more experience with it. Mm-hmm. Like, there's definitely ways you can talk. Like, the Rams are a sneaky, dangerous team. They are a sneaky, dangerous team, yeah. And this should be a high-scoring game. Which great for the fans watching it, because we might not have a ton of those this weekend.
But with the weather, no, not unless they're playing in a dome. You're not getting a lot of points.
Mm-hmm. And I am picking Detroit to win this game as well. I'm not dropping the points because this could be a very close one. It wouldn't surprise me, though, to see the Rams win. It's just, I am rooting for the Lions to at least get one. You know, I don't know how long they last after this, but I want to see them get one. And like you said, kind of exercise that demon. Other note for this game is that there is heavy implications for the offseason, specifically with coordinators. Ben Johnson, one of the most sought after coordinators for a head coach spot on offense. Aaron Glenn on the defensive side has received some interviews for head coaching positions. I don't necessarily expect him to leave. He's more of a culture builder, but his defense has been okay on the front end, but bad on the back end. So I think that's probably more of a, and I hate to sound like an asshole saying it, but more of a Rooney Rule type of interview. Mm-hmm. But Ben Johnson more than likely will be gone this offseason, especially if the Lions win this game and make a deeper push. Someone's going to want that sort of young offensive mind, offensive talent on their team as a head coach. Without how many openings we have, I don't see any way that he decides to just come back. But yeah, for me, Lions in this game, I would not be surprised if the Rams were able to pull one out. And I see it on a lot of brackets, so I'm not surprised if that happens.
Yeah. So Lions money line, both of us?
Correct.
All right.
All righty. Next up, we now have the Steelers and Bills at 2:30 my time.
4:30 Eastern.
4:30 Eastern out in Orchard Park. It is still expected to be cold, roughly 18 degrees according to AccuWeather. Still some precipitation, but hopefully not like what they're seeing right now, because it is snowing heavy there right now. It is supposed to be even worse tomorrow around noon when they were supposed to be playing the game. We're talking 2.5 inches per hour, or worse. It is that lake effect snow coming off, and winds up to 50 miles an hour, which would have essentially rendered the kicking game useless, potentially the passing game useless. I mean, we saw a game up there in New York,
in Orchard Park, yeah,
last year, I believe, where versus the Patriots.
Yep, Patriots and Bills. They didn't fucking. I don't think the Patriots threw the ball at all, and the Bills threw it 6 times, I think.
Yeah, and it was an insane game. This game got moved because that wouldn't be a fun football game to watch in some respects, It's sloppy, but fun in some respects, but because it's being deemed as a public safety hazard. So getting to the game for fans, extremely difficult with that amount of snow. Once you're there, the potential of being snowed in, shelter in place, stuff like that, extremely high. And if it's even not like that, fans leaving the game, possibly you have been drinking and things like that, it spells a really bad situation. So for the fans and the workers at the stadium and things like that, it becomes very dangerous. Not the football players. They don't give a fuck about that. But for the fans and everyone else, it becomes a very dangerous situation. So this game was moved to Monday, where hopefully they will have been able to clear enough of the snow on the field and around the city and stuff like that, that it should be a safer scenario. You're never not going to have snow up there.
Bills Mafia is going to show up and show out. I don't know if you saw, but the Bills are offering their fans $20 an hour, and they will provide you with the snow shovel if you come and help dig out the field. And Bills Mafia is going to make that happen. There's no doubt in my fucking mind that they will play.
They're going to have the field clean. They're going to have the seats clean. They're going to have the the tailgating arena clean.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be tables out. Like
tables and fucking dildos all over the place.
Yeah. What's the over under on dildos on the field?
I don't know, but we should find out, because the dildo thing that the fans have been doing up in Buffalo is hilarious.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But like, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure that they have it like closed off, but like I wouldn't be surprised to have a bunch of the Bills Mafia out there tailgating when they were supposed to be for tomorrow's game all the way through the next day. Yeah, just getting sloshed and eating meat.
Like, fucking shoveling snow, getting shit housed, and fucking grilling out in a goddamn snowstorm.
I could think of a lot worse things to do on a weekend. Like, if that opportunity was given to me, I would probably be like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. We'll get 24 hours drunk and go shovel some snow and watch some football. Because we're playing the Steelers, and the Steelers are fucking terrible. We're about to see a horrific accident happen. And that's really what I see happening in this game. Somehow the Steelers are 10-7 and the Bills are 11-6. Bills have really turned it on at the end of this year, and are looking really good. Steelers, on the other hand, somehow are limping by with Mason Rudolph, but they don't have TJ Watt, and they do not win without TJ Watt. The line right now is Buffalo minus 9.5, over under of 38.5. I also bet the under on this game, because it was in the 40s and then dropped down to like
35.5, I believe it was.
It dropped real low with this weather, and now they moved it back up to 38. We could see that change a little bit more. I'm still thinking the under in this one. Not the under that I got, unfortunately. But like the Bills are a much better team in this one. I don't see the Steelers. I don't see Mason Rudolph lasting in this game.
They're going to have to run the ball. This will be another game where they're going to have to run the ball. It's still going to be fucking cold. Not as cold as it is in Kansas City. The wind, they're still, I mean, that unless the storm is finished on fucking Sunday night, like finished, you're still going to have some residual wind and things like that come afterward. I don't want to get too far into it, because I don't want to talk about the weather too much on our sports show, but like, as somebody who has to actually know weather when you're dealing with flights, the day after a storm, it's still kind of crappy. You need like another extra day, and then it's actually finally calm. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a shit show. The Bills are a better team. I like their running options with James Cook and Josh Allen. Like, that is a better combo than a Najee Harris and a Jalen Warren, because Mason Rudolph is going to be handing it off a lot. And if he's not, I think that the Steelers are in for a really fucking long day.
Yeah, winds are still going to be high teens, low 20s mile per hour.
Still got some wind.
Yep,
still going to be cold.
Yeah, and I like Josh Allen running it with James Cook in this game. The Steelers and Najee Harris and Jalen Warren definitely could have a solid running game, which is where I put some of my bets this weekend, is that they're going to be feeding the ball there a lot. But to me, it's just the Bills are a much better team. The Steelers somehow made it into the playoffs. Yeah. But again, another one of those teams that feels like they don't really deserve to be there or belong there, like the Packers. So for me, Bills win this one. I'm not going the 9.5 because I think this is going to be a low scoring game, and that's a lot. If this was indoor game, then yeah, maybe 9.5.
Yeah, agreed. I 100% agree.
Alrighty.
But yeah, it's Bills and then Bills money line for both, and then on to our last game, which this game is also going to be very interesting.
Yeah. We have the Eagles and Buccaneers being played in Tampa, Florida. The line is Philly -3, over under of 43.5. These teams did play each other earlier in the year, week 3. And it was a home game for Tampa. Tampa lost 25-11 to the Eagles. But that was an Eagles team that was healthier and was still in the middle of tush-push fever. They are a completely different team right now, as we've seen the past several weeks. This Eagles team has absolutely fallen off. I heard one of the funniest and most ridiculous statements on the Sirius NFL channel from a former player. I don't remember who it was, and it's probably good for him that I don't. Saying, oh, the Sirianni and the Eagles have been brilliant these past 6 weeks. They know they're getting into the playoffs, lose a little bit, get easier opponents early on, so that way you can kind of almost have almost like bye weeks on those losses. And when you get into the playoffs, it's a little bit easier. And then I'm like, well, Jalen Hurts broke or dislocated his fucking finger versus the Giants. Was that smart? So like, if that's what you're doing, why are you playing them? It's obviously not what happened. This team has had an implosion. Defensive secondary is terrible. The defensive line hasn't been holding up that well either. And the offense, like, I don't know how their offensive coordinator is getting head coach interviews right now, because like, you look at the difference between him and Shane Steichen and their production. It's not like they got worse on offense. They've got the same players, maybe even better situations, and they've taken just a huge step back. That being said, like the Buccaneers, I don't think are that great. They played better the past several games, but in the Niners, they're not Niners. The Bucs, they don't play good at home. So there's reason to be like, well, the Buccaneers aren't that good. Baker doesn't play good at home. They don't play good at home. But then you're playing the Eagles right now. The Eagles, again, who have taken L's in recent weeks to the Giants, the Cardinals. They barely beat the Giants a week before that. The Seahawks. Like, they haven't looked good all year. We've said this all year. It seems like, oh, there's good players and they have so much potential there. And then they just kind of like meander their way through a game and happen to come out the other side with the W. And then you have things like AJ Brown not playing anymore and also becoming like a hardcore diva. Like,
oh yeah, very quickly. I was gonna say, Eagles fans, you've probably watched AJ Brown play for the Eagles for the last time.
It's very possible, with the comments that he's made specifically towards his quarterback. Like, this guy throws one more INT and I'm out to Dallas. Like, AJ Brown is a fantastic wide receiver. He's very upset with the way his quarterback is playing. They're not playing good football right now. I think he's upset in general. He's erased all of the stuff on IG from the Eagles, and honestly, they're not going to win this game. I'm taking the Bucs in this game on the money line. Yeah, he's removed the stuff from like all of his social media. Like,
oh yeah, he's not even going to have another opportunity to play for them because they're not going to win this game. They are down bad. I believe that Joe Rockstar is right. I believe the Niners broke them. You know, and this one's just fun because I like to troll people sometimes. You know who else is undefeated in wild card games, starting as the quarterback?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker fucking Mayfield, baby. 1-0. So, I'm going Bucs. I think they win this game. I really do. The Eagles are in such a fucking disarray shit show. Coaches, they're... Now, what happens after this season? I don't know, but we'll get ready to talk about that here just shortly after you give me your pick.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm taking Bucks to win this game, but I'm going to take Bucks plus the points because why not?
I'm going to do the same for the bets, Bucks plus the points, but I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, and that's what I had on my bracket as well, was the Bucks winning this game, just based off the recent history of
points.
How
5.5.
bad? 3.
Ooh, damn.
Just because of how bad the Eagles have been recently, and the Bucks are catching not fire at all, like they're sizzling a little bit, but like the Eagles have just been so bad they're imploding. Like you have Jalen Hurts with a dislocated finger, hadn't thrown a ball as of Thursday because he couldn't. Not that he had a whole bunch of arm strength otherwise. Like they're going to have to switch up their brand of football, I believe, to more of like a running style football rather than just passing the ball in order to try to get some offensive play this game. But yeah, Eagles are on the downward trend and they just took more hits this week, and the Bucks have a little bit of a quiet moxie about them right now, thinking that they can sneak one out here and get themselves on to the next round. So Eagles plus the, excuse me, Bucks plus the points for me. Bucks plus the points.
All right. So that's all 6. That's all 6 of our games. Fuck yeah, I'm pumped, man. We got a couple hours still before the game start, but we have more stuff to go over today. But that takes care of all of our picks. Are you ready to bounce over into the coaching carousel? All the guys that have gotten moved. And if you are, can you give those names while I go piss because I drank 30 ounces of water since we started this?
Sure, I'll get into that, but there's one thing other than that I want to go over as well. So you go piss.
All right.
And we'll slowly get into that. It has to do with college football. We just had the national championship game on Monday, I believe it was, and you have a new national champion, undefeated Michigan Wolverines. I know Mike's not happy about that, but Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies did not look very good in that game. So it's not surprising that they lost. Penix's flaws, like he was on a hot streak, especially after that game versus Texas. But his flaws were absolutely shown by Michigan. Like he is not good outside the pocket. He's not good under pressure. You saw errant throws. And on top of that, I just thought that the play calls on offense were pretty damn terrible. And Michigan, like, they didn't look great on offense either. They just were able to run the ball like a motherfucker. And then by the end of the game, when that Washington Huskies defense, which, not as good as Michigan's team at all, like, they definitely were able to get little dink and dunk plays on them and get a lot more yards after the catch out of it. Either way, congratulations to Michigan. Big thing here is that Kalen DeBoer is leaving Washington, and he's moving to a new team in Alabama, because Alabama now needs a head coach. Nick Saban retired. But other than that, college football right now, we're having a lot of players decide to declare for the draft, deciding to go back. Your wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, I don't know if I said that fucking right.
Emeka.
He decided to go back for another year.
Very excited about that.
Then your running back.
Yes.
Going back for another year, which was a little bit surprising because I feel like he's the type of guy that has a whole bunch of miles on the tires already, and now he's adding more. And how is that going to play out for him?
So didn't actually play a lot this year. Got a lot of run during his freshman and sophomore year. Did not play a ton this year due to some injuries and other things like that. So he's going to end up with quite a few miles on him by the end of next year for sure. But I still think he will be a for sure draftable running back. Like when you look at his skill set, the extra year might not hurt him. And at this point, like we're going to start seeing guys stay longer and longer. Because you got to think as a college running back, if you're making some good NIL money, you could probably stay in college for a little while. You're going to get one contract in the NFL as it is. Like, okay, let's make that money. Let's maybe go win a national title. Some guys will be real quick to jump as soon as they can. That 3 and done. But I think we'll also start to see some guys hang out a little bit longer, especially the way that NIL money hits.
Yeah, and like I said, we've seen a bunch of big names declared, and Marvin Harrison has declared as expected. But here today, big news for the show. I am declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. I know that it's been a little bit, but I kind of took that outside route of, I'll say more of a different era of gentlemen in the NFL. Your Sid Luckmans, Chuck Bednaricks, Roger Staubach, you do a little bit of military service first, and then you go and jump into the NFL and become one of the greats. And that's what I plan on doing. I have not been invited to the combine or anything yet, but I will be hosting a pro day. I'll probably only be doing my 40. I think I'm going to knock out that 40-yard dash that we talked about for the fans. And then maybe, I didn't get an invite to the Senior Bowl either. I know I'm a little bit like a long ways off of that, but maybe the super Senior Bowl. Yeah. Maybe. But either way, I'm declaring for the draft. I'll try to get a 40 time out there for all the teams that want my talents. And we'll get some other measurables for them as we go there.
So we had a fan earlier in the show ask about us doing some TikTok. That sounds like a fantastic TikTok series. Evo's path to the draft.
Yeah. I,
doing a little build up to your.
I've got to talk to my agent about exactly which events I'll be doing. I might do some more unorthodox sorts of events to show off my skill set, like bedroom Olympics, things like that. But yeah, we'll see what we can get for you. But you heard it here first. I'm declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. So,
all right.
As an athlete.
There we go.
Yes. But yeah, so college football landscape. We kind of talked DeBoer moving to Alabama because surprise,
Saban is gone.
Nick Saban retires.
Yeah.
And he gets added into a weird mix of NFL coaches who have retired and moved on XYZ. All right. So I don't have the list completely pulled up here, though I do have it on my phone just a second. So Titans fired Vrabel.
Dude, that was fucking crazy to me that they would fire Vrabel.
2 days before this happened, I started seeing a whole bunch of shit out there in the darker corners of the internet about, I think Vrabel's going to get fired. And then I started seeing it on a couple of shows I watched. Like, I'm hearing some weird stuff about Vrabel. I was like, hey, there's always this weird speculation. And then boom, it happens. I was like, holy shit, they fired Vrabel. What are they doing? You have the Commanders. We already know they were going to be firing Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera is out. They've already hired a new GM. The assistant GM from the 49ers sounds to be a good hire. They also brought in, I don't remember the guy's name, but a front office exec from NBA, from the Warriors, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
And Rick Spielman, former Vikings GM, to help in their search for a new general manager up there, and to help out with the head coaching search and things like that, kind of help transition the team along into a new era of Commanders football. So good on them for going out and getting the GM quick. They can start that head coaching search quick. They probably have a short list of people that they want, which we'll talk about here shortly, I'm sure. The Panthers, of course, without a head coach, they have the richest owner in the NFL, but the worst situation, I think, of any of the potential teams that have.
And the worst owner. Not only the worst roster, you would be working for the worst owner in the NFL as well.
Absolutely. The LA Chargers, again, we know Brandon Staley was fired. They are a interesting destination for some head coaches out there because they already have the built-in quarterback. Raiders. They technically don't have a head coach, but damn if the fans and the players don't want AP and are willing to go to bat for him. And I have some weird thoughts about this one.
He's getting a head coach's job somewhere. I don't think it's going to be the Raiders.
So,
but
I don't know.
I don't want to dive too far into that without getting into the actual segment itself. So let's go ahead and keep railing off the coaches that got fired.
Atlanta Falcons, they did the smart move. They fired their head coach, Arthur Blank, got rid of Arthur Smith. They fired Arthur Blank. They fired Arthur Smith. They fired Arthur Blank. 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 They fired Arthur Blan and now they can move on with their lives and probably have a pretty damn good team pretty quick. And then another one that I did not see coming, Seattle Seahawks. They move on from Pete Carroll. They offer him a job within the organization still, but he is no longer the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks.
We had a call come in, Evo.
Oh.
And
it was great.
Jesus. Torres, turn your shit down.
Sorry.
Hey, Sex Torres
It was
Shotguns,
fun
you're
watching
on.
you try to like connect
with
the
us.
phone, get everything ready, and then like Evo's trying to explain something.
Well,
So-
we try to listen. This is a two-man operation. I feel like we do a pretty damn good job of being able to bounce off each other. But Torres, what's up, brother? What you got for us?
What's going on? So, the Colts blew it, obviously.
Yep. Knew that was
Terrible.
happening.
Terrible. Must be hard to catch a ball when it hits you right in the hands.
It is.
But how I tuned in earlier and then I didn't get to like listen all of it. How do you think your Browns are gonna do?
So I got Browns -2. Evo's going Browns money line.
Money line. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm taking a
So after
-2,
this
so I
is
expect them
over-
to win by at least 3.
By at least 3. Okay. How are the Vikings gonna do? Just kidding. Sorry, Evo.
They're going to do the same as the Colts. Don't worry, Evo, I got your back.
No. The Vikings are going to do fine. I think that we are looking forward to a great offseason. And we're probably keeping our defensive coordinator, so that's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. And who is taking this weekend? Who's going to be the winners? Who's going to be losers?
so picks from the show, we both went Browns. Dolphins plus the points is what we went with, but I think we're both on the fact that the Chiefs are going to be the team that actually wins that game. Cowboys, Lions, Bills, and we're both on the Buccaneers as well to actually win the game, but we took them plus 3 points.
I'm taking the Bucks. All right, cool. Yes, ma'am. You want to say hi, Lineman Lounge? Okay, she does not want to.
No,
Okay,
it's all right. I don't blame her.
Nope.
Well, brother, we're going to let you
You want
go.
to
We
say hi,
appreciate the call and tell the baby girl that she's fantastic. I love seeing all the stuff you guys put
All right,
out there.
brother. All right, man.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, bye.
So, Sexy Torres Shotguns.
Yep.
All right, let's hop back into the coaching carousel.
All right. You might want to unplug that thing because I'm hearing myself double, and I don't know if everyone else is.
There we go.
All righty. Cool. So that last one that we talked about there, Seahawks move on from Pete Carroll, offer him that position within the front office still. But I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen because Pete Carroll still seems like he wants to coach. He is old as fuck. But he said earlier this year that he still thinks he has several years of coaching. He still wants to coach while he can. And if you look at some of the teams that need head coaches, like if you miss out on Harbaugh, Belichick, things like that, because the one thing that we didn't mention was New England did, in fact,
did
initially
hire-
part ways with Bill Belichick. But Gerard Mayo pretty much immediately brought in as their head coach because they had a succession plan in place, and it was actually apparently contractually agreed upon as well that he would be the next head coach of the New England Patriots. So Gerard Mayo, our 8th head coach vacancy, he is the head coach of the New England Patriots.
Yep. Good for Gerard.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they're kicking themselves though up there because they, like I said, contractually obligated to make him their next head coach with the last contract that he signed.
Right.
But then Vrabel gets fired.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's the big name. Do we have any other firings that we needed to hit real quick? Yeah, they
No.
don't want to fire Pete. Yeah. So those are all the guys that got fired. Now let's figure out where they're all going to go. And actually a new segment, something that we're going to start maybe doing, using a little segments. So let's get ready for the segment.
It's time for reckless speculation.
Whoa, look at that. We got graphics and shit. Producer Amber, thank you for doing that. It's time for some fucking reckless speculations. And I have a couple. My reckless speculations are typically going to come from what's going to happen with Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, and potentially Nick Saban. So, for me, man, like, listen, there's only one spot that makes any sense for Bill Belichick to go to. Bill Belichick is not going to a team that fucking needs to rebuild up from its entirety. He needs to have a decent roster. And the only roster that makes sense available out there right now is the Chargers. Bill Belichick is going to be the next head coach of the Chargers, but he's not going to be alone. I honestly think that he is going to bring along one of two guys. We talked about the possibility of Nick Saban. Nick Saban could easily continue to coach. I think he is probably done, though. There's no reason for Saban to leave Alabama to go and coach somewhere else unless it's somewhere in the NFL. Maybe he can coach with Bill. They could do that. But I also don't know that Vrabel is immediately going to get a head coaching job, even though I should, because over the last couple of years, they've not been very good at football. So one of two things is going to happen. Bill Belichick is for sure going to go out there and be the Chargers head coach, and his defensive coordinator will be one of two people. It will be Mike Vrabel or it will be Nick fucking Saban. I don't know why, but there is a huge link between those three guys. That's where my reckless speculation starts. Those guys, two of them are for sure going to be coaching the Chargers next year.
All right. Well, one that I've already kind of talked about with you is, and it all wraps around a lot of the same people.
Mm-hmm.
It is Bill Belichick. When he was the head coach of the Browns, he had Nick Saban as his defensive coordinator. And then you see how there is a whole bunch of intermingling and incestuous stuff between head coaches. There's Saban and Belichick, them trading coaches like Bill O'Brien back and forth, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Bill up in New England did operate as the front office and as the head coach of this team. I think Bill does want to coach more. He's 15 wins away from Shula's record.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility, especially at his age, that he could move into more of a Bill Parcells role, head coach then to the GM. This would allow Saban then to come into the NFL as a head coach and have Bill Belichick be his GM. And there's two spots that I think make a lot of sense for this, and it's not the Chargers. Even though they do have an open GM slot there as well as head coach. But the two likely landing spots, in my opinion, would be the Carolina Panthers or the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Carolina Panthers, why does this work? Terrible owner. We've talked about this shitty situation going forward. You have the ability to bring in Bill O'Brien, the former offensive coordinator for Bill Belichick, former offensive coordinator for Nick Saban, former offensive coordinator for their young quarterback, Bryce Young. Saban coached Young at Alabama, had success with them. I don't think Saban comes to the NFL unless it is for a head coaching gig. I don't think that he takes anything lower than that. So in order for this to work, he has to come in as the head coach, and Bill Belichick would end up being the GM in the front office and basically like team president. Now, in Carolina, again, bad ownership group there. By ownership group, I mean the one guy, David Tepper, but he does have a fuckload of money. And that is going to sweeten the deal for anyone that wants to go there. Like, you ask a coach to go there, they're probably saying no. And then you start adding zeros on things, and they're going to start having to think, okay, I might never get a head coaching job again in my life. This is generational money for my family. I don't care if I'm there 1 year and done. If I can get the Matt Rule deal, I'm taking it all goddamn day.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban already have fuckloads of money. But you know what's nice? More money. So if David Tepper is able to lure them in there and say, hey, I fucked up. I fired everybody. You guys are the best in the college game. You're the best in the NFL game. You must know what you're doing. I'm hands off for 3 years, and here's a shitload of guaranteed money. Maybe they come in and do it.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe they come in and do it. And they bring in Bill O'Brien with them, and they probably bring in a whole bunch
of
Matt Patricia and what's his name from the Raiders, former head coach. You probably start seeing the old crew get together. They've been bringing a couple of those guys from college because they're getting a new coaching staff. And now we've got this weird amalgamation of a couple of the best head coaches in professional sports and college sports all on one roster. Does it work? I don't think so, because that Carolina team is pretty bad, and I don't know that you can still get production out of Bryce Young, but we'll see. It was year one, and a lot of fucking weird stuff happened there. All right, so that's option one.
They did Bryce Young no fucking favors last year in his development.
Absolutely. That's option one for that group. The second option is Atlanta, because the next owner that has a shitload of money is Arthur Blank. And what Arthur Blank does is he invests in his team and his players and stuff like that. He almost kept Arthur Smith around despite not being very good. But I mean, the results, at some point in time, you had to get rid of it. This roster, especially on offense, is kind of tailor-made to be really good if you find a quarterback. All right. So you bring in good GM, good head coach situation, and then the Falcons are sitting with, I believe, pick 8 in the draft. There could potentially be a quarterback there that you want to get, but I don't know that Bill wants to say, hey, I'm taking a rookie quarterback and trying to develop them again, even from the GM side. I think he wants results now because he's not getting any younger. Same with Saban. Saban's younger, but not by much. Mm-hmm. So they go out there and they get themselves a veteran in Kirk Cousins.
Reckless speculation. Here we go.
I think they would go out there. You can probably get Kirk Cousins, who is connected to the Atlanta area. His wife and his wife's family from Atlanta. They got married in Atlanta. His dad is a pastor in Florida.
Close.
All close together there. He likes Minnesota because it is close to Michigan, close to Iowa, close to family home and stuff on his side. If he's able to go out there and get money, because he's made some comments in recent days saying it's not about the dollars, it's about what the dollars represent. And it's about the structure of the deal. To me, that means he still wants to get paid. He's willing to take somewhat of a discount, but the structure means more than 1 year and guarantees again, which I'm okay with bringing Kirk Cousins back on a 2-year deal, average annual value of $30 million. If we can get a better deal than that, cool, hometown discount. But I am only wanting 1 year of that guaranteed and no trade clause, because I still want my Vikings to go out and draft a quarterback this year as a replacement. We can ride 1 year with Cousins while the rookie learns behind him, and then Cousins can be traded or retire or whatever.
Yeah, and he can choose the team that he wants to fucking go to.
But I don't know that it'll get to that point, because he offered us a discount this year and we said no. And then he went out and started having one of the best years of his career before tearing his Achilles. And now he still wants that same sort of money. What makes me think that we're going to go back and now accept it? We made that decision last year. And I think if we can come to an agreeable set of terms, cool. But I think we already have our line in the sand of like, hey, we're not going above this. And if that's what you want, like, it's been great, man. We want you back. We do. But you have a torn Achilles. You're 36 years old. We can't keep devoting this sort of money to you. And he will test the free agent market. And at that point, someone will pay him that money, 30, 35 million a year, because of the production that he's had. And he ends up being kind of like a Matt Ryan clone out there in Atlanta. He is able to run a efficient offense that Bill Belichick and Saban like to do, with Kyle Pitts, with Bijan Robinson, with Drake London. And now that 8th overall pick, that could be a Roma Dunze. That could be a Malik Neighbors if he falls that far. That could be a Brock Bowers to have a dual threat tight end system. Or it could be a defensive player.
Well, like Brock Bowers would make a ton of sense if you get fucking Bill Belichick down there. That 2 tight end system was literally killer.
Yeah. So I think that team, they look at that and they say, hey, we don't want to go and rebuild a team. This Atlanta team already has some legs to it, especially on offense. We just need a quarterback, and we'll be playoff competitive in the NFC South, which was a shithole.
But you can win that. If you get competent quarterback play in that division, you're winning the division.
Yeah. So those are 2 options there. In my gut, I feel like Bill Belichick wants to coach more. He wants to beat that Shula record. That takes at least 2 seasons, because I don't know if he's going to go and get 15 wins in one season. And we didn't even see that really this year. So 2 seasons on another team, Bill Belichick could go somewhere. Harbaugh, he's a big question mark. Where does he go? Does he stay in college? Does he leave? I feel like this is the time for him to jump. And I think that's the reason why Saban left as well, is NIL and the transfer portals. Before, in the past, Nick Saban was able to walk into a recruit's house and say, hey, come play at Alabama. In 3 years, you will have 2 national championships and you will be drafted in the first or third round of the NFL and be making NFL money. Like, that was the reality until NIL and the transfer portal popped up. And now he has no more control. He's losing 5-star recruits. The playing field is leveled to some extent, but it's just not leaning in his favor like it was before. And now he's having to go and try to go into these 17, 18-year-olds' houses with their families and be like, please come play for me, rather than just, this is what I'm offering you, take it or leave it. And that's not fun. It's not fun for those head coaches. So he wants to move where he has more structure back to the NFL and prove that he can do what he wants to do. Saban, as a head coach in the NFL with the Dolphins, did not have a good tenure. He wanted Drew Brees. The year that Drew Brees was a free agent, they had a deal ready to go for him. He wanted him, and the front office turned it down.
Yeah.
What sort of franchise would that Dolphins franchise be if Drew Brees had gone there instead of the Saints? Who knows? Saban could have been a long-term NFL coach and had a lot of success there. He has the accolades in college. Now he wants to cap it off, come to the NFL, have more structure, and try to get himself the title of being a decent or good NFL head coach and possibly a Super Bowl.
Third or fourth guy to win a national title and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Very few of those guys. Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll, and I cannot think of another one.
No. I mean, Harbaugh came close.
Yeah, close.
He got the natty this year and then went to the Super Bowl, but didn't win.
Yeah.
And that's the next question is Harbaugh, right? So Harbaugh has been linked to the Chargers. He's been linked to the Raiders and to some extent, the Washington Commanders. And to an even further extent, the Bears, but the Bears are saying that they're sticking with Matt Eberflus.
Yeah,
which I believe that if Jim Harbaugh went to Ryan Poles and their ownership group today and said, I want to play for you guys. You're the only NFL team I want to coach. They fire Eberflus today. Like,
100%.
I don't know why they wouldn't. But let's assume that
Eberflus is fired before the fucking ink dries on Harbaugh's contract.
Yeah. And we'll just assume that they're sticking with Eberflus, right? Raiders make a lot of sense because I think that Jim Harbaugh has an ego. He wants to go to a storied franchise with a lot of history that needs to be pulled up by its bootstraps and brought back to its glory days. The Raiders were that in the past with Madden and whatnot. Now, I mean, they're the Vegas Raiders instead of Oakland and everything, but still, like, I could see him wanting to do that. And it sounds like they would be very interested in Harbaugh as well. They being Davis.
Yeah. However, that
the
entire
fans and the teams.
Yeah, that entire fan base and every fucking player on that team wants Antonio Pierce to get that job. And I think he should get that job. He's earned a job. And if they don't hire him, he's getting a head coaching job, I believe, somewhere else.
I don't know.
And I think he's smart enough to know that if the only other job that he has an offer for is to go be the head coach of the Panthers, he will go be a coordinator again somewhere else.
So, and I think that Pierce will get this job as the head coach there because Max Crosby has come out and said, if you hire someone else, I'm requesting a trade. Yeah. They have billboards up all over the place out there saying hire AP. The whole team is behind this hiring. Josh Jacobs said, if you want me back, the only way I come back is if AP is the head coach. All right. Every single Raiders fan that I've talked to has said, I don't care who wants to come in. I don't care if it's Belichick or Harbaugh. We want AP. And I get that to an extent. But I love, on one hand, seeing so many people come out and support Antonio Pierce. And I think he's done a great job. But on the other hand, you have to think about your long-term future. Was this lightning in a bottle? Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it is. But you have a known commodity in a Belichick or a Harbaugh or something like that. And if they were to come in, that's not just like lightning in a bottle. That's this guy's going to turn your franchise around and very possibly within the next 5 years get you to a Super Bowl. And you don't know if you're getting that with Pierce. And I really like Pierce, and I want him to get the job. And he probably will because of all the pressure being put on him by the players and the fans. But if the players always got what they want, we would have a lot of shitty teams out there.
Yeah, no, very true. But I can tell you this, that if Pierce does get this job, which I think he should get, I mean, he's earned it. He's earned the respect of that locker room, and that means a lot in the NFL. But if he gets this job after all the public pressure and his players coming out and supporting him, he should send a bottle of the finest whiskey or scotch to Bisaccia. Because this is the reason that there is so much vitriol behind this. Because they saw, not too long ago, 2 years ago, an interim coach take over that team, be able to lead them, be able to win, and then not get hired, and you bring in a retread from somebody else, and especially in that Patriots system, who just does not fucking work out at all. Like, this is not the first time we're seeing this storyline. This is a direct copy of what happened with Bisaccia. And the fans remember that. And they're letting their fucking feelings be known. And I think that's great. I think it's awesome. Antonio Pierce should get that job. I think he will probably, like, when your players love you that much, that goes a long way, I think, with ownership groups as well, like the GM, because they know that you're going to have the locker room, and that means something. So even if he doesn't get this job, he's going to get a look somewhere else, and it's one he deserves.
That's the thing. He will get looks elsewhere. I don't know that he gets a head coach job elsewhere, though, because you don't have that sort of a passion and fire like you do from those fans. It won't translate immediately like that to another fan base and stuff like that, and he just doesn't have the resume for it. However, the New York Giants have offered him basically a head coach salary to become their new defensive coordinator. That has been reported, and I absolutely think that if he doesn't get the head coach job, he is the new DC out there in New York, because he's a legacy player. He's a hero to those fans, and they do have a passion for him as a player because he was a Giant for so long, that he would be a great fit there, and probably would then be able to build his resume and potentially in the next couple of years get looked at as a head coach again. But I truly believe he will be the next head coach of the Raiders. That leaves, so if I'm assuming Belichick and Saban, I'll say Atlanta, because I like that situation for them a little bit better. You've got the Raiders figured out. Commanders and Chargers. Those are the two most likely spots for Harbaugh, right? I don't think he goes to Seattle just to, like, stick it to the 49ers. But I guess that's a possibility. But if he goes, he has said that he really likes JJ McCarthy, which is weird. And I feel like if he goes to a team that needs a quarterback, he might try to maneuver his way to get JJ McCarthy. And I think that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
But you have the Chargers and the Commanders being the two other most likely spots. And the Commanders, like I've said, I think that they have the most potential to flip around and become a very good team very quick based off of draft capital, cap, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think Harbaugh going to the Commanders, who, as the Washington Redskins, have a storied franchise and a lot of history, and they're turning that around, and a new ownership group that is really investing in this team and wants to see that massive change. So I could see that happening there as well. For some reason in my plums, I feel like Vrabel is going to go to the Chargers. I don't have a good reason why, but that's just what I feel. Which I think Chargers fan would love.
There's another coaching situation that we kind of alluded to a little earlier that I think is gonna, and this is another reckless speculation of mine. But Andy Reid, this is his last playoff run. I think he is going to retire, but he's not going to be the only one. There's a couple of other dudes that I think are going out with him.
Yeah.
They're from this area. The Kelsey brothers will retire after this year with Andy Reid. It has been a down year. Jason has been flirting with retirement for some time. Travis has now actually come out and said he is flirting with retirement. Andy Reid drafted both of those dudes. The story is very, very well known. I think this is the end of the line for Andy Reid and the Kelsey boys. But luckily, the Chiefs are going to be able to hire somebody who is very familiar with that situation. This is something that has been possibly been brewing for several years. Eric Bieniemy is going to finally get that chance to be the offensive play caller, the head coach out there of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. That's what kind of what I was thinking is, so those Vrabel rumors I had heard for like 2 days before he got fired, saying like, hey, he might be fucking on the way out. They might be firing him. And I was like, that's weird. Yeah, I'm getting the same sort of stuff with Andy Reid right now, saying, hey, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, this might be it for him. He started taking more commercials and stuff like that, which historically with some of these coaches, they will start taking commercials or other ad things and stuff right before they retired just to get some extra money and help
just
them
like
bridge,
the Kelsey brothers are doing right now. They're fucking every goddamn commercial.
Yeah, bridge into that civilian space a little bit. The Kelsey brothers, like you said, that they already have their podcasts and stuff like that. Yeah. So whatever happens in this playoffs, I do think that there's a fair possibility that Andy Reid might hang it up. In addition to that, there's 3 other potential head coach openings that we're looking at. One that's been floated around a lot is Tomlin and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't fire their head coaches. They rarely move on from them. But Tomlin has been there. I mean, Belichick was with the Patriots for 24 years. Tomlin's been there, I believe, for 17 or 18 with the Patriots. It's a long time. That is a long time for a head coach to be with the team. And it might be in both of their interests to move on from one another and try to start new. Could they trade him? Maybe. But I think a mutual resignation would be more likely at that point. I put that down on the lower end of the spectrum of my expecting that to happen or not. I think next year would be more of the possibility for it. Nick Sirianni, Philadelphia Eagles. They have had a shitty run here at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. The Eagles are known for getting rid of good head coaches, potentially in their prime, a la Doug Peterson, a la Andy Reid. Sirianni, I mean, a guy with very little experience before he got the job. They struck lightning and had some really good coordinator work underneath him. Although I'll say I'm out on Gannon still, but
right.
But like Steichen and whatnot, and getting the production and stuff out of Jalen Hurts, I don't think Sirianni was out there coaching Jalen Hurts like that. I think that was like the actual positional coaches. They go into Tampa this weekend and lose with the head coaches available on the market. I could see Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles moving on from Nick Sirianni,
going to get a
surprise move, and going out and getting someone like a Vrabel to take over as their head coach. Ooh. Which would be surprising because people are going to say, hey, Philly was just in the Super Bowl last year with Sirianni. Well, they fired Doug Peterson, a year or two after they went to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, year after they won the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah, so it's not that outlandish. Philly has a history of doing this. And I thought that Sirianni has done really well with this team, and I thought maybe I have to eat crow with it. But he's very unqualified for the position, and it felt like he was the face of a bunch of other coaches who were good, but was more of the likable bro type of guy that people were like, I'll get behind this. But then it's kind of like, is he real? Is he actually a real coach?
It always felt like a placeholder coach. Like when it first happened, we're like, oh, this is one and done. Like we thought what was going to happen with Gannon. We were thinking the same thing about Sirianni, and then they come out and they're fucking winning games. So everybody's like, okay, well, no, he's a good coach. We're starting to see some fracturing happen inside that locker room. Obviously, we've talked about the Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown thing. That stuff comes from top down a lot of the times. When your culture is not necessarily the greatest, you get more and more of that. I'm not saying all the time. You have players that are divas, especially wide receivers, especially Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers, have a tendency to potentially be divas. But that stuff, typically there's a culture in the locker room that allows that kind of thing to happen, or there's at least some sort of tension in that locker room. So Sirianni could easily be gone.
Yep. And then last one, Mike McCarthy. If he loses this weekend, I see no way that he is retained. And that's one of those situations where I see Belichick going down there. Like Jerry Jones just offering a dickload of money to him, saying, hey, come be the next Tom Landry, the next, whatever historied fucking head coach for the Dallas Cowboys.
He'd probably even give up roster control at this point.
Bill? Yeah, there's been Jerry.
No, Jerry. I think Jerry would give up roster control.
I don't know. I mean, Bill has offered that.
If he did it to anybody, the only guy he's given up roster control to is Bill Belichick.
Yeah, but I mean, they have a playoff roster and some shitty coaching. So, like, it's an easy step in for a Bill at that point if Jerry Jones thinks he can get him. If they lose this weekend, Mike McCarthy's out. If they lose next weekend, there's still a possibility that Mike McCarthy's out.
Depending on who they lose to and in what fashion that happens.
Yes. So we still have, like, in my recollection, I don't remember an offseason of head coaching changes that has happened like this.
Fucking drastic? Yeah.
You're talking about, like, the old guard, this Saban, Belichick, and Pete Carroll. And we're seeing it with not a young guy, but Vrabel, like big names, good coaches, not being head coaches anymore.
We're in that transition period, man. We are definitely in that transition period. We're losing the coaches. We lost the quarterbacks. Like, we're moving into that next era of the NFL, which I'm fucking pumped about.
Yeah, I like the change like this. It's scary, but it's fun. Yeah. The weird thing for me is that somehow you still have coaches like, again, Matt Eberflus, who has a job, and Dennis Allen, who has a fucking job. I don't fucking get that. Now, and I bring up Dennis Allen because I'm curious. Did you see the end of the game?
Of course I saw the end of the game.
Okay.
Everybody saw the end of the game. So, two thoughts. And I think
real quick before
I think both of the things can be true. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, in case people aren't tracking.
Yeah.
All right. The Saints at the end of the game intercepted the ball. They were already steamrolling the Falcons. All right. Whooping their ass. They have the game in hand. Saints intercept the ball, and the guy who intercepts it gets tackled at, like, the 1 yard line, like right before scoring. All right. They have Jameis Winston out there, and they call a victory formation, a kneel down, because you typically aren't going to put up more points on another team just when they're already down and out like that. You don't need to. It's the gentlemanly thing to do. Well, according to Jameis Winston, the team decided in the huddle, fuck that, we're going for it because this is one of our rivals. And Williams had not had a touchdown all year after getting 17 last year. Yes. So they line up in victory formation,
which is dirty,
but they don't go to a knee, and they hand it off and get the touchdown. And this leads to a bit of a squabble at the end of the game between now fired Arthur Smith and Dennis Allen.
Yep.
That's
actually, I'm pretty sure what got Arthur Smith fired was that exchange.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think that was the final straw.
But what's funny to me is, so if you look at this from a box score, they got the ball on the 1 yard line. They scored a touchdown. And in my head, this is my rival. Fuck them. I'm going for it. I'm going to score this extra touchdown.
Yep.
Okay. That's without watching the film. But then when you say, okay, they lined up in victory formation. That is, like, again, like a gentleman's agreement between the two teams that's saying, my defensive line is not really going to hit you. Your offensive line is not really going to hit me. We're just going to kind of slowly stand up. The quarterback's going to take a knee so no one gets hurt. We know what's happening here. Thank you for putting us out of our misery type thing. So then if the offensive line fires off and hits these guys, like, they're basically, it's like a cheap shot at that point. The decorum's out the window.
Oh, and, 100%.
And for Jameis Winston, I think that he was trying to defend his coach, saying, yeah, coach told us to do victory formation, but we decided as a team otherwise not to. It's almost worse. Because now it's saying the players don't respect what you tell them to do.
Exactly.
Fuck about what you say. And so, like, in his attempt to defend Dennis Allen, he fucked him harder. Yeah. And Dennis Allen still has a job.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to continue to be the case, but so I think multiple things can be true at the same time. And in this situation, I think that they should have run a play for Williams to get into the end zone. I think that's awesome that you would want to do that for your fucking teammate. I applaud the fact that the guys were like, no, fuck that. Let's go ahead and get this dude a touchdown. Last game of the season. These motherfuckers are out anyways. Who cares? Like, let's line up and let's get him a touchdown. I also think it's complete fucking bullshit in Bush League that you line up in victory formation and run that play. Like, you want to get your dude a touchdown? Fuck it. Line up in single back, and just run ISO down their throat and put it in the end zone. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
I don't think teams practice fake victory formation runs.
No.
Trick victory formation. I don't think that's practice. So you know that in the huddle, Jameis probably said, okay, we're doing kneel down. Fuck that. I'm turning around and handing it. You guys we're lining up in victory, but we're doing this. We're getting this touchdown. Like, if what he's saying is true, like they wanted to score a touchdown and get him the touchdown and blah, 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 then you say, okay, coach said do kneel down. Nah, we're going to run this I formation or whatever single back shit, and we're going to run it in. So that way the defense lines up and knows what's going on, so that it's a fair play.
Yep. Yeah. So you do that, you're fine. You say, no, we wanted to run a play. Our dude hadn't gotten the end zone. I called the fucking play. But regardless if you do that, now you have completely disregarded what your coach has told you to do. So Jameis should be cut for doing what he did. I still think it's the right thing. I believe that he should be cut for it, though. Just because it doesn't matter like that there are consequences. There are consequences to every single one of our actions. Sometimes those consequences are good, and sometimes those consequences are fucking bad. Like, Jameis is not going to be the starting quarterback down there for that team. Like, they keep trotting anybody out there except for him to be the starting quarterback. Is it a bad thing that he gets cut? No. Will he maybe have a hard time getting signed somewhere else? Yes.
I don't know if I'll have a hard time somewhere else. They are in a bad way with cap. So there's going to be a lot of cuts.
Yeah, Jameis is not going to be the quarterback there anyway.
Yeah.
But you line up in a different formation. But because that happens, because your quarterback and your entire offense has the gall to say, fuck that, we're not listening to the coach, we're going to run this, Allen should be fired. Should have been fired after the game. Like, there's no reason he should still have a fucking job. Because here's the thing. If you're down for your dudes, you say, you know what? Fuck it. We're killing them anyways. I'll just have a scuffle with the fucking other coach after the game, line up in fucking I formation, and get Williams a touchdown. Screw it. Like, if you do that, your players don't have a problem. If you have the respect of your players and you say, line up in victory formation, they line up in victory formation and they do it. Or they call timeout. Or your players come up to you and they have open dialogue and say, coach, no, let's not run victory. Let's get Williams in the end zone. He hasn't done it this year. But there's no open dialogue, which means you don't have a good relationship with your players as a head coach. They don't respect you. He should be gone. All of these things can be true. It was a good idea to get him in the end zone. It was a bad idea to do it out of fucking victory formation. Jameis should be cut. Allen should be fired. Like, all of those things, in my opinion, are fucking true things.
No. It was a shitty situation. Like, it took a second look for me because I didn't understand what had originally happened.
Yeah,
now I do.
Dude. So like, you hear, oh, they ran out the score. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't care if you run out the score. If you line up and play football, fucking tough. Beat the other team.
Yep.
But it was kind of Bush League going into victory.
Yeah.
So
it's like putting your hand up for a handshake, and then when the other person goes up for the handshake, you fucking punch him in the dick.
Suck it. Yeah, suck it.
Like, what? I thought we were fucking around.
Yeah.
No. But all right, man. Look, there's about to be a lot more reckless speculation of what's going to happen in this.
Oh, reckless speculation is happening all off season for sure.
I mean, the big one here, I think, after this weekend, we're going to see more head coach stuff happening. We might see some hirings. We might see some more firings. But we're looking at going into this draft season, a very interesting situation with that number 1 overall pick. Do the Bears keep it? Do the Bears trade it? Do they stick with Fields? Do they take Caleb Williams, or does Caleb Williams come out? There's
Honestly,
a lot of stuff.
if I'm the Bears, I would say that I'm not trading the pick until
If I'm the
day
Bears,
of the draft. And then I would trade the fucking pick after Caleb Williams cannot declare for the fucking draft now.
yeah, but he'll just do like what the fucking Eli. I'm not playing for you. Type shit.
No.
Look,
But he won't. Apparently, there's the report that he wants assurances that the Bears are trading it before he even declares.
Right.
If that is true,
it's false.
I fucking hope it's false.
I posted that on the Facebook page, and then a day later, something like that, I saw something like fans were duped by fake account, blah blah blah.
Okay,
like
so we got McCockford.
But there's still Caleb Williams has made comments and made them public that he wants certain assurances and things like that about what teams he wants to play for, what teams he's willing to play for, whether or not
I'd fucking draft him number 1 and trade him and fleece whoever is coming to get him.
He hasn't declared yet, so we don't know. I do think, and I've said this before, I do think that Washington makes a lot of sense for him because he's a Washington kid. Trade the 1 and 2 trade, go for it. And I guess this gets into a little bit of future reckless speculation here, but like, I know you like Drake May.
I do.
I like Drake May. I think he is a safer floor than Caleb Williams. And I'm not a huge Justin Fields fan, and I would like to reset my contract situation. So I'll trade my first pick to Washington, sure, and get a little bit of a haul for that. Squeeze whatever I can out of them. They'll take Caleb Williams first overall, and then I take Drake May number 2 overall, and then I trade Justin Fields. I've reset my contract for the quarterback market. I've not skipped out on a better prospect than what I currently have. I'm getting more in return for Justin Fields, so I'm getting. It's not like I'm just losing him and getting nothing. And then I still have the number 9 overall pick, and I can get another good complement receiver to go along and make this really explosive offense.
And if you trade Justin Fields during the draft, you get a team that missed out on the quarterback that they want, and maybe they like Justin Fields. That's doable.
Yeah, and if Kirk Cousins doesn't go to Atlanta, trade. That's the most common trade that everyone says is trade Justin Fields to Atlanta. I don't think that's going to make them. It is a good fit, but I don't think you're going to have like the monumental boost that people are thinking is going to happen.
It will depend on who is calling the offense down there.
Yeah, which Ben Johnson.
Yeah. So
I think that he would be a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Eric Bieniemy, that'd be cool too. But yeah. That's there's a lot of draft speculation, stuff like that. Potential mock drafts that we'll be putting out here. We'll definitely do mock drafts and stuff on the show as we go. But right now we're in playoff season, and it is the first day of Super Wildcard Weekend today. And you only have an hour and a half until your game.
Hour and a half till my game, so I got to get off here. We're going out tonight after the game. My birthday is on the 16th. So going out this weekend, and I got to start school and all that other shit. So watch the game, enjoyed that, go out, and then watch the rest of the fucking football games tomorrow. And I got one
and Monday.
as well. Oh yeah, and fucking Monday. I don't like Monday playoff games, but I got nothing else. I don't want to dive too much more in. We've been in here for a little while. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. But brother, let's get the fuck out of here.
Alrighty.
All right, I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. You can listen to the show on any podcast platform. You can watch on YouTube, interact with the show on Facebook, Twitter. There are also those pinned tweets and posts on the groups for the bracket challenge. You got about an hour and 26 minutes to get those in, and then we're shutting that off. So if you want to interact with us, go there. You also got TikTok, Instagram. We had another person talk about doing the TikToks. There's some content on there. We need to do more, but we will absolutely try to get that out there, especially since we have some requests for it. But guys, I got nothing else. Thank you very much. Evo, you got anything else for the people?
No, sir. Be safe this weekend and have fun watching football.
All right. Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. We'll be back next week. See you.